how likely is this? Because, you know, Janet Yellen has only spoken about it in very halting, elliptical terms. Is that even in the toolbox for the U.S.?
So what has come out recently and what these analysts are saying is that it's in the toolbox. You know, it's just an option. And like you said, you know, Janet Yellen talked about it in very halting terms. And for people to even need to start considering it, we would need to basically be in a recession. So, you know, don't expect negative interest rates anytime soon. And then if the economy gets bad enough, they'll also be considering QE, which they've done before, and even just petitioning Congress for more fiscal reform.
But, you know, the fear about negative interest rates had always been historically you go negative and people literally start putting cash underneath the mattress. But we've got some real natural experiments here that we can look at, and that's not what's happening.
Exactly. If you look at Europe, you know, no one's got any huge vaults full of like cash or gold or whatever. And that's not happening in Japan either, at least so far. So I think that was the big concern, and it hasn't really shown up just yet.
Yeah, and I mean, I saw a study from the Sweden's Riksbank actually saying that, you know, rates could go potentially as low as 10% before we really saw a dramatic flight to cash. That's negative 10%, although Sweden, of course, is a cashless society, so that makes a difference. But there is, you know, there's a little bit more room than we thought below there to see what happens.
Right. And I think it's really just a huge demand for safety, right? Like the demand for safety has not let up. You look at markets today and people are buying the 10-year Treasury note and yields are below 1.8%. So I think that the demand for safety is so high that people aren't going to be wanting to just like yank all their money and put it in a vault, you know?
Do you still see a psychological barrier preventing us from adopting negative interest rates? I mean, I think when you look at the Taylor rule, right, it suggested that we go negative 4 years ago, right, and that obviously would have us dipping back positive. Now, is that psychological barrier still there?
Well, I would say it's still there, but it's probably getting a little bit looser. You know, I think that you look at Japan, and I do think Japan doing it was really a big deal because they worked out a lot of problems that were sort of present in the U.S. You know, it's not just the physical currency hoarding. It's also concerns about money funds, which haven't really shown up in Europe. I mean, money funds closing and, you know, chaos there. It's also concern about the banks paying, you know, facing a lot of trouble because they'll be paying on their reserves. So because none of those things have happened, I think that, plus both of these guys used to be at the Fed. And I think that, you know, the fact that they're considering it at all sort of marks a shift.
Yeah. And again, you know, sometimes you can communicate that you're thinking about it by saying, we don't know how the tool works yet. We're going to learn how to use this tool.